Naruto. I awakened the devouring blood successor. Chapter 31. Uchiha Obito trembled and walked towards Lin, who was in a pool of blood. When passing Kakashi, his feet penetrated Kakashi's body directly, and then came to Lin's side. Uchiha Obito held Lin in his arms and murmured to himself. Lin, I want to create a world with you again. Suddenly, a salsa sound came to Uchiha Obito's ears. Uchiha Obito quickly followed the sound. Then he saw Senju-dan walking towards him step by step, but there was no trace of it on his face. Any expression. Uchiha Obito suddenly laughed at himself. Senju-dan showed him some of the actions of Konoha village before. Maybe his mood at that time was the same as his own now. Senju-dan stood quietly next to Uchiha Obito. He immediately looked at the dozens of dead Kurigakure village ninjas, and then a cold smile appeared on his face. Since these people are dead, let them be his nourishment. Thousand-handed Dan opened his hands, and dozens of red tentacles pierced through his palms in an instant. These red tentacles were like vines, crazily wrapping around the dead ninjas, and then split them apart. Their corpses turned their remaining blood into the power of chi and blood. These red-colored chi and blood powers returned to Senju Liming's body along the vines. Uchiha Obito looked at the strange thing in front of him. In one scene, he asked hoarsely, "What kind of ability is this?" Senju-dan also turned around, looked at Uchiha Obito, and then said in a slow voice, "This is the power I gained in despair, just like you." Strength in despair. Uchiha Obito looked at Senju-dan with empty eyes and murmured in a low voice. After Senju-dan devoured all the remaining corpses, he left silently because he knew that Uchiha Obito needed someone. After leaving here, Senju-dan slowly walked towards Uchiha Madara's base. Not long after, Uchiha Obito followed Senju-dan, and on his face, there is only despair in this world. It is exactly the same as the original Thousand Hands Dan. Thousand Hands Dan took a deep breath and said, "This world is inherently dark. Even if we are not in darkness, the darkness will eventually pervade us. On your body. Therefore, we must use the power obtained from this darkness to correct this wrong world." Uchiha Obito just followed Senju-dan silently, and he also very much agreed with Senju-dan's words. Only after experiencing darkness will he know how beautiful the world was that he thought before. Everything is wrong. This world needs to be corrected. In Uchiha Madara's base, Baizetsu was reporting on the situation on Uchiha Obito's side. In general, everything was going according to plan. It didn't take long. Senju Liming and Uchiha Obito returned to the base. Senju Liming looked at Uchiha Madara and spoke first. "You should already know the situation over there." Uchiha Madara did not refute Senju-dan's words, but nodded, and then said in a low voice, "This is the consequence of war. This is the edge of darkness in the world, and if you want to change this situation, you must cut off all cause and effect." Then Uchiha Madara used his genjutsu to once again launch an infinite moon reading plan on Senju-dan and Uchiha Obito. In that beautiful world of genjutsu, everything is possible, and Uchiha Obito was also attracted by this. The plan was deeply moved. After leaving the genjutsu, Uchiha Madara continued, "If you want to create such a genjutsu world, you must use the power of the 10 tails." Then Uchiha Madara told Senju-dan and Uchiha Obito about the 6 paths sage and the 10 tails. In general, the 10 tails was divided into 9 parts by the 6 paths sage, and each part was transformed. After becoming a tailed beast, by gathering all these tailed beasts into the outside demon behind him, he can merge into the 10 tails again, and then use the power of the 10 tails to cast infinite Tsukuyomi. Then Uchiha Madara explained. After a while, he opened the reincarnation eye before dying, and now the reincarnation eye has been transplanted into a descendant of the Uzumaki clan, named Nagato. After Uchiha Madara finished speaking, he stretched out his left hand and attached it to a person. White Jew, created, Black Jew. Okay, go ahead. With a slight effort, Uchiha Madara tore off the channel transmitting energy to himself, and then returned to his seat. At this point Uchiha Madara is completely dead. Obito Uchiha looked at Don Senju and asked, "Ame, what is our next plan?" Obviously, unknowingly, Obito Uchiha has regarded Don Senju as the backbone. Kionju Liming looked at Heiju, and then slowly said, "Now, I want to know all the situations on Nagato's side." Heiju nodded, and then collected all the information on Nagato's side. Tell everything to Kionju Liming. Senju Dan nodded. At this time, Nagato, Konan, and Yahiko had formed the Akatsuki organization. At this time, the Akatsuki organization was still the same Akatsuki organization that was full of justice and longed for true peace. It was led by Yahiko and assisted by Nagato and Konan. But Senju Liming, who knows everything, knows that the so-called Akatsuki is just a lie. Even if the people in the Akatsuki organization try their best to negotiate for peace, there are always some people in this world who won't let you get what you want. When people discover how dark the world is, they will no longer have such simple thoughts. Sometimes, people have no choice. The world is forcing you to fall into darkness. Thousand Hands Dan thought of this, shook his head slightly, and said in a cold voice, there is no so-called dawn. It is just a lie to deceive yourself. Create an illusion of peace. Just like my dawn. Senju Dan's voice was very low, and Uchiha Obito stood aside silently. Heiju's eyes were full of excitement, because the more Thousand Hands Dan fell into darkness, the easier it would be for him to take advantage of him. In this way, his plan will be easier to realize. Even in the feeling of Black Zetsu, as long as he operates well, then Uchiha Madara cannot even be used. But why doesn't Thousand Hands Dan know what Heiju has in mind? And Senju Dan is also using Black Zetsu. Because if Hei Zetsu is used well, it will also be his own heritage. So what's next for you? Heiju said at this time. Let Nagato see the real world clearly. Senju Dan said lightly. After he finished speaking, the three people started to quickly go on the road, because both Senju Dan and Black Zetsu can use the floating technique, and Uchiha Obito can also directly use divine power to travel through space. So the three of them quickly came to the Kingdom of Rain. After arriving in the Kingdom of Rain, Kionju Liming looked at the reigning kingdom and sighed slightly. As expected, this country has been crying. God is also crying for this country. After all, this country has suffered too much pain from the war. And it was several other ninja villages that caused this pain. During the Second Ninja World War, other countries the battlefield was directly established on the Kingdom of Rain, because in doing so, they could avoid damage to their own country. They would never think about small countries. Even if the small country was destroyed, it would be nothing more than a trivial matter in their hearts. Compared with their own interests, it is not worth talking about. Not to mention the country, even an ordinary small family, as long as it harms the interests or reputation of the ninja village, these big countries will mercilessly kill them. Its destruction. This world is originally in darkness. Senju Dan's vision became more determined, and then he stepped into the Kingdom of Rain. After entering the Kingdom of Rain, Senju Dan and Uchiha Obito also after arriving in a cave under the guidance of Heizetsu. Senju Liming saw Yahiko Nagato and Konan. In the eyes of the three of them, Senju looked forward to the future. Dan shook her head slightly. The three people in front of her have not yet been exposed to the darkness of this world, and their current combat power is very small. If Senju Dan wants to take revenge on Konoha, then he must have his own power. I don't need Nagato, I need pain. Senju Liming slowly walked towards Nagato and the others. The three Nagatos suddenly became alert and turned around, looking at Senju Liming and Yahiko up and down. Looking at the three strange people in front of him, he frowned and said, "Are you three sleeping? What's the purpose of looking for us?" Senju Liming smiled faintly, but his face was as cold as ever. Then he looked at Nagato behind Yahiko and said slowly, "I'm here to guide the eyes of reincarnation to see the real world clearly." What? Yahiko's expression suddenly changed because he didn't expect that the other party would directly reveal Nagato's Rinnegan. "I need you to use the power of the Samsara Eye to join me in changing this cruel world." Senju Liming's eyes were fixed on Nagato. Nagato's character was still a little introverted at the moment. He opened his mouth and only said one word, but was immediately interrupted by Yahiko. Yahiko looked at Senju Liming and the others with a wary expression, and said sternly, "You three, get out of here quickly. Otherwise, we won't be polite." Ridiculous. Senju Liming slowly shook his head, he was a little curious about how Yahiko would treat him. After hearing what Senju Dan said, Yahiko's expression changed. Then he took out a kunai from the ninja bag on his waist and threw it at Senju Dan. Senju Dan stood there without making any defensive posture. Just when the black kunai was about to stab Senju Dan, a black bone spur suddenly came out of Senju Dan's chest. The jet black bone spurs directly knocked the kunai away and fell to the ground. This is a passive defense skill. As long as a blunt object comes into contact with thousand hands of dawn, the black bones in the body will come out to protect the owner. This is also a new skill that Thousand Hands Dawn has developed by devouring so much energy and blood in the past few months. You don't need to give me an answer now. I will come to you again when you want to give me an answer. Senju Liming said lightly. After saying that, his figure slowly integrated into the earth. Uchiha Obito also activated his divine power, and his figure disappeared in place with a whirlpool. Black Zetsu then sneaking directly into the ground. Nagato looked at the three people leaving, frowning slightly. These words were deeply remembered by Nagato in his mind, because Nagato discovered that he had this pair of different eyes when he was a child. He knew that he might bring danger to his companions in the future, so he was also practicing hard, and he also wanted to protect his companions. Senju Dan, Uchiha Obito and Black Zetsu did not leave the Land of Rain, but stayed in a nearby cave. At the entrance of the cave, Senju Lilim stood there quietly, looking at the dark sky outside. This night, it was like he was being chased by Konoha. It was the same as that night. Inadvertently, he also exuded a trembling murderous aura. Don't give out such a cold breath, I can't stand it. This weird sound was the white body that possessed Kionju Liming. Kionju Liming took a deep breath, and then the corners of his mouth curved, a bloodthirsty curve. Because of the white body on his body. Zetsu is just Black Zetsu, used to monitor himself. With this thought, Kionju Dan directly activated the ability to phagocytose cells in his body. Cell phagocytosis. Kionju Liming didn't hesitate at all, and the cells in his body were also frantically eating away at the Baiju possessing him. And the Baiju in his body seemed to have discovered something, and he suddenly screamed. But before he had time to speak, it was completely swallowed up by Thousand Hands of Dawn. This white body on his body was mercilessly swallowed into his body by Kionju Liming, and became the nutrient in his body. At this moment, Heiju, who was hiding in the earth, also noticed the changes in Kionju Liming, and then he murmured to himself, it is indeed a terrible ability. If it can be used completely by me, even I can give up even Uchiha Madara. After Senju Dan devoured White Zetsu, he began to think about his next plan. The power he had now was not enough to completely shake Konoha. But also because Uchiha Madara implanted Hashirama cells in his body, he can also master wood release. But his body also underwent a series of earth-shaking changes after gaining the ability to devour. If you want to rely on normal methods to master the powerful wood escape technique, you may not be able to do it. You must take a different approach. Only by swallowing more Hashirama cells can you develop your wood release to the extreme. At the same time, a group of Konoha ninjas were heading towards the Rain Ninja village. More than 30 figures suddenly emerged from the forest, and the leader had a bandage on one eye and a knife mark on his chin. It was Danzo Shimura. He has obtained information from his subordinates. A new force is growing in the Land of Rain. With Danzo Shimura's suspicious character, he will definitely not let this force continue to grow. Because in the eyes of Shimura Danzo, everyone except Konoha village is an enemy. So at this moment, he took action immediately. With his own root ninja, he found Hanzo the Sancho fish. In the dark room, Shimura Danzo and Sancho Hanzo sat opposite each other on a table. We have received information that the ultimate goal of your new Akatsuki organization in the Land of Rain is to take your place. Moreover, the three leaders were disciples of Jiraiya, one of the three ninjas. Shimura Danzo handed the forged information to Sancho Hanzo. Sancho Hanzo was also a worried person, so he directly listened to Shimura Danzo's words. And before Shimura Danzo arrived, Sancho Hanzo also having received an invitation for peace negotiations from the Akatsuki organization, now he happened to meet Shimura Danzo, which made Sanho Hanzo even more convinced that the Akatsuki organization was well prepared. We might as well just take advantage of it. I will send someone to help you then. Shimura Danzo's eyes flashed with a sinister look. Good. Sancho Hanzo nodded slowly, and then conveyed the news of agreeing to peace talks to the Akatsuki organization. After the Akatsuki organization received the news, everyone became excited, because if they can negotiate with Sancho Hanzo, then peace will truly be achieved. Maybe it will come. As time went by, the day of negotiation came, and after receiving the news from Black Zetsu, Uchiha Obito said nothing. The meeting place for the two parties' meeting was in a huge valley. Yahiko and Nagato had already arrived at the meeting place. Not long after, Sanchoyu Hanzo also walked slowly above the valley. At the edge of the valley. We have come with sincerity. Yahiko looked at Sancho Hanzo, and then said loudly. A cold smile flashed across Sancho Hanzo's face, and then he pushed Konan, who had been kidnapped, to the edge of the valley. Yahiko and Nagato below saw the kidnapped after Konan's face suddenly changed. Yahiko shouted loudly, Hanzo. What do you mean? Don't think I don't know your plans. Sancho Hanzo said coldly, and then he threw a kunai downwards. The kunai pierced directly at the feet of the two of them. Sancho Hanzo pushed Konan with his hand, and then said quietly, if you don't want this girl to die. Nagato. I ask you to pick up the kunai on the ground and kill Yahiko, the leader of your Akatsuki organization. A heartless and cruel scene appeared in front of everyone. Senju Dan and Uchiha Obito were standing on a big tree at the upper reaches of the valley, watching everything quietly. This is ugly human nature. In the face of your own interests, even if the other party's actions do not threaten you, you must find a way to get rid of the other party. Senju Dan said expressionlessly. After seeing this scene, Uchiha Obito, who was beside him, felt even more that this world is very hypocritical. At the same time, he also yearned even more for the world in Infinite Tsukuyomi. Because in Infinite Tsukuyomi, these ugly human natures will no longer exist. He wants to create a world full of love. That world has all his most cherished companions, and also the person he loves most in his life. Suddenly at this time, Black Zetsu got the news from Baizeze's clone, and then said hurriedly, I just got the news that other members of the Akatsuki organization are coming here. Senju Dan turned her head slightly, and just when she was about to speak, Uchiha Obito spoke first, I'll do it. Good. Senju Dan nodded. Uchiha Obito activated his divine power and left here alone. Only Senju Dan and Black Zetsu were left here. Senju Dan looked at Black Zetsu beside him and said lightly, Black, let me ask you a question. Hey. Ju was stunned for a moment, then said, what's the problem? If my actions go against Uchiha Madara's purpose, what should you do? Senju Dan said slowly. His two eyes also opened the Sharingan at this moment, and strong anger burst out from his body, directly targeting Heizetsu. Black Zetsu was shocked when he heard Senju Dan's words, and then a curious look was reflected in his pupils, and then he whispered, if your goal is also the infinite Tsukuyomi, it will not conflict with Uchiha Madara's goal. His words were obviously testing Thousand Hands Dan. Thousand Hands Dan narrowed his eyes slightly, and then raised a cold arc at the corner of his mouth. Withdrawing his anger, Thousand Hands Dan said lightly. Uchiha Madara has already withdrawn from the stage of history. The person who brought peace to the ninja world was not Uchiha Madara. But I, Thousand Hand Dan. Senju Dan has begun to spy on Heizetsu's attitude, because it doesn't matter who implements the unlimited Tsukuyomi plan to Heizetsu, as long as the unlimited Tsukuyomi plan can be launched. Sure enough, Senju Dan's words have nothing to do with it. He revealed his ambition in a concealed way, and Heizetsu felt more and more that Senju Dan was the most suitable candidate. The heavy rain in the sky became more intense, and in the valley below, Nagato and Yahiko were just like this, looking at each other quietly. Senju Liming saw this and whispered quietly, next, it's time for Nagato to transform into pain. The heavy rain in the sky continued to fall, while Nagato and Yahiko below were struggling in pain. Sanchoyu Hanzo above the valley saw that neither of them took action, and then said coldly again, if you don't take action, then I will kill this girl directly. Sure enough, as soon as he finished speaking, below him Yahiko yelled at Nagato, take the kunai quickly and kill me. After Nagato heard Yahiko's words, his body couldn't help but move, and at this time, Nagato's mouth also screamed. Breathing heavily. His pupils trembled in his eye sockets, and his body involuntarily picked up the kunai on the ground. Just when he was about to turn around and speak, a figure suddenly rushed towards him. And the kunai in his hand mercilessly plunged into Yahiko's abdomen. Streams of blood flowed out of Yahiko's mouth, and Rhinitis' face also showed a look of relief, and then his mouth moved. You and Xiaonan must survive, because you are the savior of this world. When he finished speaking, his body fell heavily to the ground. Thousand Hands Dawn has been watching the development of this matter as a bystander, because this is the cruel and merciless fact. Behind everything in this incident is Konoha. With this thought, Senju Dan's determination to kill Konoha became even more determined. At the same time, Uchiha Obito also killed all the members of the Akatsuki organization who came over there to support him. Through the transformation of this incident, Uchiha Obito has completely fallen into darkness. After arriving here, he stood quietly beside Kionju Liming and watched the development below. At this moment, Nagato's face began to distort, and his breathing became very rapid. After seeing this scene, Sancho Hanzo, who was above him, also showed a smile on his face, and then said to the people around him, "Everyone, do it." When he said that he would let Conan go as long as Yahiko died, he was all deceiving Nagato. Only these people are all dead. Hanzo will really feel at ease. Kionju Liming looked at all this with indifferent eyes, and let out a sarcastic laugh. This sarcastic smile turned out to be particularly harsh under the torrential rain. The inhumane scene before me is exactly the truth. The ninjas lurking in the valley rushed towards Nagato below at this moment. Nagato also used the power of the Samsara Eye at this time. He stretched out the power of his right palm, the Samsara Eye, and released a powerful repulsive force. The huge repulsive force bounced away all the shurikens that were shot at him. Nagato roared to the sky and quickly performed the psychic technique. Psychic art. Heretic Golem. The grieving and angry Nagato finally summoned the Heretic Golem at this moment. After the Heretic Golem came out, he waved his huge palm and killed all the ninjas that besieged him. Then Nagato quickly jumped to the top of the valley, saved Xiaonan. At this moment, the detonating charms hidden on the ground by Sanchoyu all attacked Nagato. In order to protect Xiaonan, Nagato's feet were badly damaged by the detonating charms. Ah! Nagato roared, then controlled the heretic demon, and then released a ghost-like long dragon. Anyone who is touched by this ghost dragon will immediately drain the soul. Direct death. This is the power he unlocked in despair. The battle slowly came to an end, and Sanchoyu Hanzo also escaped from here through the technique of instantaneity. At this time, Nagato's back was already full of black sticks, and he was seen muttering to himself, "I understand, this world is wrong." A feeling of weakness surged into Nagato's heart, and Nagato he fell directly to the ground. Xiaonan endured the grief and brought Nagato and Yahiko back to the group. Senju Dan and Uchiha Obito also slowly left here. At the moment Yahiko died, Senju Dan knew that Nagato was also dead, and the person who replaced Nagato was Pain. One day later, Senju Dan took Uchiha Obito to find Nagato. Nagato was not surprised by the appearance of Senju Dan, because he had already seen the world clearly. If you always try to use talk to achieve peace, you will eventually be used by the enemy one day. Just like now, just like dead Yahiko. This world is inherently cruel. There is no so-called peace at all. Only ninjas from big countries can bathe in the sun, but ninjas from small countries like you can only live in the shadow of big countries. Kionju Liming said calmly, "Where there is light, there must be shadows. As long as there is struggle in this world, there will be winners, and there will be losers just as there are winners. In this way, hatred will be intertwined with each other, and those victors will weave the will to protect peace to trigger war. In this way, war will continue to cause hatred, and hatred will become more and more intense. Because this is a causal relationship, it can never be separated. But if we were to create a world, there would be only winners and only peace. Only when all these people understand the same pain will they appreciate true peace." When Qian Hand Liming said this, he looked at the heavy rain outside, and then continued, "Pain is like the rain outside, you can never stop it from falling, you can't stop it from coming. So we have to start from the root. Destroy the dark clouds in the sky. Or we can replace it. I understand, only by letting others feel pain will they truly desire peace." Nagato said in a low voice. "Good." Kionju Liming nodded heavily. "Good. I join you." One day later, Nagato had used the power of the Samsara Eye to turn Yahiko's body into the Tendo Pain. The costumes of the Akatsuki organization have also undergone some changes, from the original gray cloak to a black cloak embroidered with blood-colored red clouds. Since you have chosen to join us, let me help you. Qianju Liming looked at Tiandao Pain in front of him and said, First, we need to stabilize the peace within the Kingdom of Rain. Tiandao Pain nodded indifferently, and then the two of them set off to leave the Akatsuki organization's base. Their target was Sanshoyu Hanzo. Tiandao Pain did not stop Senju Dan's attack, so the two of them coincided with each other and went straight to Sanshoyu Hanzo's residence. Because Senju Akira and Tendo Pain did not conceal their murderous intentions, the clues were quickly discovered by Sanshoyu Hanzo's guards. After these guards saw the murderous Tendo Pain and Senju Dan, they hurried to Sanshoyu Hanzo's mansion. What's so fussy about? Sanshoyu Hanzo frowned and looked at his men. Two guys from the Akatsuki organization are attacking this way. Their target may be you. The subordinate said hurriedly. What? Sanshoyu Hanzo's expression suddenly changed, and he rushed out quickly. But at this moment, the outside was already full of fire. Every time Senju Liming and Tiandao Pain took action, they were extremely ruthless. They did not leave anyone with the slightest chance of life. In this quiet night, there were suddenly many screams. There may be innocent people among these people, but the only one to blame is Sansho Hanzo. There is no such thing as fairness in this world. The only one to blame is their weakness. Devouring black bones. Thousand Hand Dawn let go to fight. He can clearly feel the desire in his blood. Moreover, Thousand Hand Dawn can feel that the power of these devoured chi and blood can strengthen all his attributes. Even the wood release can be strengthened. However, Thousand Hands Dawn cannot grow such a powerful wood release at the moment, so it can only rely on the power of these chi and blood to continue nourishing it. Stop! Sanshoyu Hanzo shouted. His teeth were cracking as he looked at the doomsday-like scene in front of him. You should have thought about times like this when you set this trap. Tiandao Pain suddenly appeared in front of Sanshoyu Hanzo, and a raging murderous aura emanated from his body. You're not dead. No. Your eyes. But before Sanshoyu Hanzo could finish speaking, he found that his body was rising into the air and flying towards Tendo Pain uncontrollably. This night is destined to be a bloody night. This night is destined to be a sleepless night. The forces belonging to Sanshoyu Hanzo were slaughtered in this dark night. And Thousand Hands Dawn also gained countless energy and blood powers. His own strength has naturally improved by leaps and bounds. Moreover, Thousand Hands Dawn once again strengthened its ability to swallow black bones by devouring the power of energy and blood. Today's Thousand Hands Dawn can already linearly control the devouring ability of the red tentacles. If the enemy doesn't know that Thousand Hands of Dawn has this move, he will definitely suffer a big loss from this move. The killing continued until midnight, and now all the forces affiliated with Sanshoyu Hanzo were wiped out. Qianju Liming returned to the Akatsuki organization's base and was currently discussing the Akatsuki organization's next plan. The next plan is to recruit members. Our target is the tailed beast, so the members we want to recruit must be strong people. Qianju Liming said slowly. I already have several candidates here, and recruiting them is the top priority of our Akatsuki organization. Qianju Liming told the news he got from Heiju. Leave this matter to Obito, and you should cooperate with Pain. Uchiha Obito nodded, and then asked, what about you? I want to go to Konoha. A trace of murderous intent emerged in the eyes of Senju Liming. Uchiha Obito fell silent. After Senju Liming assigned all the matters, he left the Kingdom of Rain alone. At this time, Senju Liming already had something in his heart. Now that the Ninja World War is coming to an end, Minato Namikaze must have been appointed as the fourth Hokage. The specific time of Senju Dawn is not clear yet, so we have to go to Konoha village to check it out. The figure is galloping through the jungle, and the moon tonight is emitting a strange red light, such as the murderous red light in the eyes of Thousand Hands Dawn. The Kingdom of Rain and the Kingdom of Fire are adjacent, so Thousand Hands Dawn only uses after half a day. We arrived near Konoha village. The art of Mayfly. Senju Dan directly activated the floating technique, and his figure slowly submerged into the earth, and then sneaked into Konoha village. At this time, Konoha village was bustling with countless people coming and going, because at this time the war had already begun at the end. It can be said that the Third Ninja World War is over, and they have also welcomed a new Hokage, Namikaze Minato. Senju Dan couldn't help but hear these people in Konoha talking about their Hokage. He sneered. He was just a lackey of Konoha. Because of Sarutobi Hiruzen's words, he could abandon all conscience and pursue him. After seeing that he was just a child, he not only had no mercy, but he is more determined to kill himself. But as long as he does this, he can be promoted as a hero to save the world by Konoha village. But in the eyes of Senju Dan, all this is just a lie. They use the skin of kindness to do some unscrupulous things. Because they won, they can shape themselves into heroes. Moreover, history is always written by the winner. At this moment, Thousand Hands Dan has found Yuji. Seeing the landmark building belonging to the Uchiha clan in front of the Hao clan's station, Senju Akira couldn't help but feel the murderous intention in his body. The scene of himself and his parents being chased by Konoha and Uchiha Fugaku in the past was still vivid in his mind. Can you bear it? Qian Shu Liming crazily suppressed the anger in his body that was about to go crazy. Qian Shu Liming activated the instant body technique, jumped directly onto a big tree, and then launched the floating technique. My body becomes one with the tree. Uchiha clan, cherish these last moments. Because when night falls, Shira will come again. Senju Dan quietly monitored the members of the Uchiha clan, and a whisper came from his mouth. Konoha village, in the Hokage's office building, Namikaze Minato is filled with a happy smile. There is only 1 month left before Kushina's due date. Then I would like to congratulate you in advance. Sarutobi Hiruzen is also here, with a smile on his face. However, the tailed beast seal will be reduced when the Jinchuriki gives birth to a child, so I hope everything goes well by then. Namikaze Minato sighed softly. Don't worry, Konoha's medical team and Anbu will all be dispatched by then. Sarutobi Hiruzen said. Namikaze Minato nodded, then frowned again. I don't know where Senju Dan is. Having said this, Namikaze Minato's face also turned cold. This kind of existence that can threaten the village cannot stay in this world. This is natural, but we haven't detected the existence of Thousand-Armed Dan for a long time. A cold murderous intention also flashed in Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes, and then disappeared. Next time. If I can meet him next time. I can definitely kill him. Namikaze Minato said seriously. The last time it was because his Flying Thunder God technique was not mature enough and he was careless. If he really encounters it this time, Namikaze Minato is confident that he can kill thousands of people in a short time. A complete kill. As time goes by, night has fallen, but at the same time, a god of death is waking up. Uchiha Fugaku jumped down from the big branch. Thousand Hand Dan is here to collect blood debt. Who is where? Suddenly a voice came from the right side of Senju Dan. Senju Dan turned around and saw 2 Uchiha tribesmen wearing Konoha guards. He did not speak, just looked at them quietly. 2 people. When the 2 Uchiha clan members saw that Senju Liming didn't answer their words, one of them walked over with a frown. He looked at Senju Liming and became cold after confirming that he was not from the Uchiha clan. He said coldly, "Who are you? Breaking into the residence of our Uchiha clan without permission. Do you want to die? Want to die?" Senju Liming's eyes slowly moved to the face of the Uchiha tribesman in front of him. Then Senju Liming stretched out his right palm without mercy. Suddenly a pitch-black bone penetrated Senju Liming's palm directly penetrated the Uchiha in front of him. And this Uchiha didn't even have a chance to scream, and he died immediately. Devouring black bones. Senju Liming looked at the corpse in his hand with cold eyes, and instantly activated the ability to devour black bones. Red tentacles continued to condense from the palm of his hand, and these tentacles wrapped around the corpse of the Uchiha tribesman in front of him, and soon then all the chi and blood in the opponent's body were eaten away. When the power of chi and blood returned to Thousand Hands Dan's body, Thousand Hands Dan only felt the desire and dissatisfaction in the body. You are Thousand Hands Dan. After another Uchiha clansman saw such a terrifying and strange attack, he immediately thought of who the person in front of him was. It was the Senju Dan who was famous in the ninja war a while ago. He didn't expect him arriving in Konoha. Senju Dan suddenly looked up, and 2 scarlet and strange 3 Magatama Sharingan appeared. Help! The remaining Uchiha tribesmen suddenly became frightened. Under the fear of death, he used all his strength to scream. But Thousand Hands Dan will not give him this chance. Senju Dan's left hand is directly facing this Uchiha clansman. Then he suddenly activated his ability to devour. His entire left arm was transformed into a thick tentacle, and the tentacle was still emitting a red and strange light. Cell phagocytosis. Senju Dan showed no mercy, and the red tentacles on his left hand began to spread crazily towards the Uchiha who wanted to escape. In just a moment, he caught that Uchiha the tribesman. The tentacles with endless devouring power swallowed up this Uchiha tribesman in an instant. When the tentacles returned to Senju Liming's body, only 2 cold mummies were left on the ground. There are only deep holes left in the eyes of the mummy. The Sharingan has been devoured by Senju Dan. Sure enough, only by swallowing the Sharingan can my eyes continue to evolve. After Senju Dan devoured the Sharingan of the 2 Uchiha tribesmen, he found that his eyes once again felt a stinging sensation. Senju Dan slightly twisted his neck, and then let out a creepy cry. Smile. The hunt is about to begin. Senju Dan just walked directly towards the center of the Uchiha clan's residence. Sure enough, after appearing so arrogantly on the Uchiha clan's territory, 5 more Uchiha patrols immediately discovered Senju Dan. Who are you? Why do you appear in the territory of our Uchiha clan? One of the patrol captains took a step forward and looked at Thousand Hands Dan with sharp eyes. Thousand Hands Dan did not answer his words, but a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Answer quickly. Otherwise, we will treat you as an enemy who has broken into our family. The patrol captain saw that Qian Hand Liming ignored him, and he was furious. Qian Hand Liming glanced at the patrol captain, and a monstrous murderous intention suddenly swept over him. He actually has the Sharingan. The captain's face suddenly changed drastically. Just after he finished speaking, before he had time to react, he was swept across by this strong murderous intention. When this killing intention appeared, it only made the patrol captain's back tremble. Liang, they didn't even dare to make a sound. Under such terrifying pressure, these 5 patrol officers didn't dare to move. In other words, they couldn't move anymore. He looked at the people in front of him with murderous intent. He only heard a faint whisper from him, "Let you be the nourishment for me to open the kaleidoscope." Senju Liming only felt that when he finished devouring the 2 Uchiha tribesmen, his eyes became more and more stinging. Moreover, there seemed to be an inexplicable desire in his eyes that he wanted to arouse. This feeling is absolutely it's a precursor to opening the Mangekyo Sharingan. So, Senju Lai glanced at these 5 people with murderous intent. He must continue to devour the Mangekyo Sharingan. The extremely strong murderous intent locked onto these 5 Uchiha tribesmen. These 5 people felt as if they were in an ice cellar. The cold and biting murderous intent actually made the 5 of them see the scene of their tragic death. Senju Dan slowly walked towards the 5 Uchiha clansmen. With every step he took, these 5 people were 1 step closer to death. At this moment, Thousand Hands Dan is like a reaper of life, especially his eyes that are not mixed with any feelings. Walking in front of these 5 people, Qianshu Liming stretched out his hands and moved the corners of his mouth. Devouring black bones. The hands of Thousand Hands Dan suddenly stabbed out pitch-black bones. These pitch-black bone spurs froze directly through the chests of these 5 people. Then a strong devouring force broke out, absorbing the vitality and blood of these 5 people, as well as the power in their bodies. All the chakra was taken away. The 5 people died immediately. They didn't even let out a scream before they died. Qianju Liang looked at the corpse at his feet, and then the bone spurs in his palms changed again. It turned into a red color and transformed into red tentacles. These red tentacles pierced the heads of these 5 people quickly. In just a few seconds, these red tentacles were penetrated. After devouring all 5 people's Sharingan, Senju Liming could clearly feel that there was a kind of power condensing in his pupils, but that last one was missing. There was an invisible barrier. After Senju Dan killed these 5 people, he continued to move slowly towards the Uchiha clan's mansion. Such a arrogant move by Senju Dan naturally attracted the patrolling Uchiha clan team. There were more than 30 ninjas from the Uchiha clan in this team. When they discovered the bloody smell of Senju Liming, they immediately guessed that there was something wrong with these 30 Uchiha clan. The ninjas quickly came to Senju-dan, and two of the team captains directly recognized Senju-dan. He is Thousand Hands Dan. One of the captains suddenly screamed in fear. The faces of the remaining 30 or so Uchiha tribesmen also looked ugly, because all Uchiha tribesmen had been warned by the current team leader Uchiha Fugaku that if they encountered Qian Dawn of Hands must escape. Because their current strength is no match for Dawn of Hands. And Uchiha Fugaku also knows that the methods of Dawn of Hands are very cruel, and because the opponent also has a weird attack method. He would not think about what made the Senju-dan what it was today. He himself had created an enemy so powerful for the Uchiha clan that they were afraid of it. But even so, he would not think that it was him. Instead, he would blame Senju Liming's parents for all his faults. Everyone is selfish. Otherwise, how could he be the leader of the clan? Captain, what should we do? Although these 30-odd Uchiha clan members surrounded Senju-dan, they knew that this was just a futile effort. Go and inform the patriarch. One of the captains headed by him swallowed hard. At this time, he was also frightened in his heart, because he knew that these people were not the opponents of Thousand Hands Dan at all. But at the same time, they also knew that these were the few the opportunity to completely kill Thousand Hands Dan. Although the Heavenly Clan leader did not explain too much about Thousand Hands Dan these days, the words Thousand Hands Dan were like a barb, piercing deeply in the throats of these people. After all, Senju-dan's reputation is very cruel on the battlefield. In addition, Senju-dan has killed so many Uchiha people before, and it has obviously become a nightmare for these people. Sometimes, the slightest disturbance can wake these people up from their dreams, but now that their nightmare has appeared in front of them, the atmosphere of fear has become more and more intense. With the terrifying reputation of the Thousand-Armed Dan, it would be better to die immediately. Want to notify your clan leader. Qianju Liming slowly raised his head and said quietly. There's no need to go to such trouble, just wait for me to kill them one by one. After Qianju Liming finished speaking, he clasped his hands together and put a cruel smile on his face. Black bone cuttings. The skin of his body suddenly cracked, and dozens of red-colored tentacles emerged from the cracks. These tentacles quickly penetrated the more than 30 Uchiha clan members who were surrounding them. Ah! For a while, screams came one after another, and the bodies of these people were directly burst by these needs. And some tiny cell tentacles once again split out from the tentacles, swallowing their Sharingan. Qianju Liming stood there quietly, feeling the power of blood brought by the red virgin hair, with a strange smile on his face. The blood of the Uchiha clan is good. Thousand-handed Dan can clearly feel that his strength is improving all the time, using the power of these people's blood to improve. And when holding hands, he can also feel that there is an evil force in his pupils. It is growing. This is the precursor of the kaleidoscope's imminent awakening. Senju Liming never thought that after devouring so many people's energy and Sharingan, the kaleidoscope has not yet been turned on, and the desire in his eyes is getting stronger. The same is true for the blood in the body. Not enough, I need more blood. Qianju Liming licked the corner of his mouth, and a cold and vicious aura suddenly spread. The movement just now naturally attracted other Uchiha clan members. Under the cover of the moonlight, these people could only they saw a figure slowly walking towards them. Although they didn't know who this person was, the cold air emanating from them made these people feel as if they had entered an ice cellar. Dan looked around and saw that more than 50 Uchiha tribesmen had gathered around him without fear of death. Some were pointing, while others took out kunai directly. They had regarded Dan Senju as an intruder. But the sad thing is that they don't know that the person in front of them is Thousand Hands Dan, their dream demon. Are you all ready? Qianju Liming laughed twice, but the voice sounded like a hellish demon. Next, blood debt must be paid with blood. Blood debt must be paid with blood. Senju Dan's two Sharingan eyes were fixed on the 50 or so members of the Uchiha clan rushing over in front of him. The strength of these people is only Chunin at best, and the consequences for Senju Dan can be imagined. Moreover, Thousand Hands Dan's attacks did not leave any backup moves at all, they were all extremely ruthless. Devouring black bones. Senju Liming stretched out his two hands, aiming directly at the Uchiha tribesmen who were rushing over. The black bone spurs in the palms pierced out instantly, and then pierced through under the trembling eyes of the Uchiha tribesmen. The chests of these people. Blood continuously emerged from the chests of these people, and then was absorbed by the dark bone spurs, and transformed into the power of Qi and blood. As the power of Qi and blood returned to Thousand Hands Dawn, Thousand Hands Dawn's blood is gradually boiling, and he feels that the blood in his body is gradually boiling. Thousand Hands Dawn will not give these people any chance to counterattack. The residents of the Uchiha clan. Do not kill me. I beg you. The figure of Senju Liming came to the two Uchiha clan members again. The two clansmen immediately knelt on the ground and kowtowed. Do you think it is useful to beg for mercy in front of me? A sarcastic smile appeared on Qianju Liming's face. At the same time, the hostility on his body became more and more intense. Both eyes were covered with red color. If begging for mercy was useful, maybe the situation would not develop to this moment at all. If begging for mercy works, maybe I can still be in the arms of my parents now. Ah! Senju Liming raised his head to the sky and roared. The murderous aura swept across the world. At this moment, everyone only felt that their whole bodies were cold, and they had already seen the tragic situation before their death. The Uchiha clan's mansion, the deepest place. What's going on outside? Why is it so noisy? Uchiha Fugaku came to the door with a frown. When he came to the door, he saw the monstrous murderous intent not far away. That murderous intent made Uchiha Fugaku's face change drastically. Then Uchiha Fugaku closed his eyes, quickly sensed the direction, and a few seconds later, Uchiha Fugaku's face showed strong murderous intent. He didn't expect Senju-dan to come so boldly and enter his family. Uchiha Fugaku hurriedly returned to the house. At this moment, a 5-year-old boy walked up to Uchiha Fugaku and asked curiously, "Father, why is it so noisy outside?" "Itachi, quickly take your brother and sneak into the underground shelter. Be fast." Uchiha Fugaku turned around and said dully. "So what happened?" Uchiha Itachi looked at his father and asked hurriedly. "There is an invasion by outsiders." Uchiha Fugaku explained quickly, and then he continued, "Hurry up and do as I say." Uchiha Itachi nodded hurriedly, and then quickly returned to the house. Uchiha Fugaku quickly put on his clothes, and then hurriedly rushed to Senju-dan's position. He raised his head and looked at the monstrous killing spree on the horizon. Uchiha Fugaku's brows suddenly frowned. Has Senju-dan's current strength grown to the point where he can kill himself? With this thought, Uchiha Fugaku must speed up the process under his feet. Get up and strangle him completely. Didn't you people say you wanted to kill me? Why are you so afraid of me now? Senju-dan looked at the group of people who were greedy for life and fear of death with red eyes. At this moment, Senju-dan has killed at least 50 Uchiha clansmen. The whole square was filled with blood. The smell of blood filled the sky. Among them, the eyes of the remaining dozen survivors were dull, and they were crawling tremblingly, wanting to leave this place. Senju-dan stared at these dozen Uchiha. The tribesmen immediately showed a bloodthirsty smile. At this moment, Qian-hand Liming suddenly looked to the right. There was only a black figure on the right that was approaching rapidly. This man. Uchiha Fugaku. Uchiha Fugaku who forced himself into ruin. Uchiha Fugaku who pushed himself into the abyss. Ha ha ha. Fugaku old dog. You are finally willing to show up. Today I will kill you with my 1,000 hands at dawn. Qianju Liming suddenly laughed desolately. The desolate laughter echoed in the sky. At this time, Qianju Liming only felt that his eyes were stinging. Anger, resentment, and the deep unwillingness. The intersection came together. It deeply impacted Senju-dan's brain. The 3 Magatama Sharingan in Senju-dan's pupils also changed in shape at this time. It didn't take long for this aura to burst out from Shand Liming's whole body. And 1,000 hands Liming looked up to the sky and roared. Ah! This voice is like thunder piercing the ears. Anyone can hear the deep-seated hatred in this voice. That hatred that can never be washed away. In the eyes of Senju-dan, the 3 Magatama Sharingan has changed. It turned into a Zeba kaleidoscope similar to a 6-star pattern. There are strange lines around the pupils, exuding a strange aura. Senju-dan activates the Mangekyo Sharingan. What? Uchiha Fugaku's face suddenly turned ugly. Because he had already seen Senju-dan's kaleidoscope. He had never thought that Senju-dan could open the kaleidoscope. After all, the other party was not of the pure blood of the Uchiha clan, how could he have the ability? Turn on the kaleidoscope. Or, is Senju Dan's qualifications so terrifying? When Uchiha Fugaku thought of this, the murderous intention in his eyes became more intense. Otherwise, the Uchiha clan will never die. Day of peace. Ha ha ha. Thousand Hand Dawn looked up to the sky and smiled, with a smile exuding desolation. An extremely violent evil force emanated from Thousand Hand Dawn's kaleidoscopes. Is this the Mangekyo Sharingan? Thousand Hand Dawn looked at his hands, and he could feel the devouring ability in his body. After he turned on the kaleidoscope, he got a rapid improvement. It can be said that after turning on the kaleidoscope, all the abilities of Thousand Hand Dawn's whole body were improved. Promote. Everyone. Team up with me to stop Thousand Hands Dawn. If you just let it go, then he will bring indelible disaster to our entire family. Uchiha Fugaku quickly came to the side of the dozen tribesmen. However, when he came here, all he saw were the tribesmen with empty eyes. These dozen tribesmen had completely lost their will. And now, the last thought left in their minds is that they don't want to die. It doesn't matter where they go. After seeing this scene, Kionju Dan couldn't help laughing. Stand up. Ha ha ha. This is the Uchiha clan. Fugaku old dog. Aren't you the hero of the Uchiha clan? Come, let me see what sample collar you have. After Thousand Hands Dawn finished speaking, boundless cold murderous intent began to burst out from his body. Sure enough, I still underestimated you. However, I don't regret it. On the contrary, I feel that my original decision was the right one. You shouldn't exist in this world. Uchiha Fugaku looked at Senju Dan with cold eyes. Ha ha ha. Kionju Liming laughed loudly. Your decision was correct, right? Ha ha ha. So, come and experience my original pain. Thousand-handed Dan shouted violently. He instantly activated the teleportation technique. Immediately, his figure disappeared without a trace like a ghost. What a speed! Uchiha Fugaku's pupils trembled violently. He could only catch up to the speed shown by Senju Dan just now. Uchiha Fugaku's two eyes also quickly opened the three Magatama Sharingan, and his two eyes quickly. However, after some searching, Uchiha Fugaku found no trace of Senju Dan, as if he had disappeared from the world. Clan leader. At this time, the Uchiha escort team composed of hundreds of people also arrived belatedly. The captain of the escort team quickly came to Uchiha Fugaku's side. Everyone. Divide into 10 groups. Kionju Limingjia is in our station. If anyone finds his traces, release the signal immediately. Uchiha Fugaku said solemnly. Yes. These escorts quickly divided into a group of 10 people. Uchiha Fugaku looked at the Uchiha escorts who started searching and immediately lowered his head. Just now, what does Thousand Hands Dawn's last sentence mean? Uchiha Fugaku murmured to himself. What is the same pain? The same pain. Uchiha Fugaku suddenly raised his head, his pupils full of worry, because he had already thought of a certain possibility. Everyone. Quickly go to the underground shelter of the Uchiha clan. Uchiha Fugaku's expression suddenly became intense and he shouted loudly. Such a big commotion in the Uchiha clan was naturally discovered by Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo. In front of the Hokage Anbu base, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked sternly looking at the Anbu personnel gathered below. Just now, according to the news the Anbu received from the Uchiha clan, Senju Dan has sneaked into Konoha. Currently at the residence of the Uchiha clan. Nearly 200 Konoha Anbu have gathered below, each wearing an Anbu exclusive mask on their face. You have only one goal. That's kill Thousand Hands of Dawn. We can't let him continue to grow. Sarutobi Hiruzen said loudly. Yes. 200 Anbu ninjas shouted in unison. At this moment, a yellow flash appeared, and Namikaze Minato also came to Sarutobi Hiruzen. Senju Dan is back. Namikaze Minato said with a solemn expression. Sarutobi Hiruzen also frowned deeply. Because Senju Dan was like a thorn in their hearts, although what they did to Senju Dan before was a bit inhumane. However, how could they? Unexpectedly, Thousand Hands Dawn's current strength has reached the point where it can threaten their lives. In the face of life and death, they are still afraid. This fear has taken over their hearts, and they can only be relieved by killing Thousand Hands Dawn. Then we can't wait any longer. A deep murderous intent flashed through Namikaze Minato's blue eyes. No. Don't get involved in this incident. Your main task now is to protect Kushina Uzumaki. It is not ruled out that Thousand Hands Dawn cooperates with the enemy. Otherwise, how could the timing be so coincidental? Sarutobi Hiruzen stretched out his hand to stop Namikaze Minato, and then said solemnly. Namikaze Minato suddenly woke up. If this was really the enemy's strategy, then Uzumaki Kushina would be in danger. Your task today is to protect Kushina, leave this to my Anbu and Danzo's roots. Sarutobi Hiruzen said slowly. Yes. Namikaze Minato took a deep breath, nodded, then activated the Flying Thunder God and left here. Danzo, how are your men gathering? Sarutobi Hiruzen turned his head and looked at the dark shadow behind him. 100 elites at the root have been assembled. In the shadows, Shimura Danzo walked out slowly, leaning on a cane. Good. This time, we must work hard to kill Thousand Hands Dawn. A stern look flashed in Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes. Immediately, the 200 assembled Konoha Anbu disappeared in place together with Sarutobi Hiruzen. After Shimura Danzo saw these people disappear, he slowly said, "Show up." Just as he finished speaking, the originally empty square in front of him became densely packed again. However, these people all have a sense of murder in their bodies. These people are the elites of Danzo Shimura. Everyone, listen, our mission at the root is to control the vicinity of the Uchiha clan and not let the Uchiha clan leave their base. Otherwise, Senjudan will definitely bring disaster to Konoha village. Only when I tell you to take action will you show up again. Danzo Shimura looked at the more than 100 root ninjas in front of him and said coldly. Now may be a good time to weaken the power of the Uchiha clan. Not only that, but also the power of the Hokage lineage can be weakened together. In this way, come on, if I work well in secret, maybe I can use this incident to overthrow the fourth Hokage. Move out. Shimura Danzo said coldly. More than 100 root ninjas below disappeared in an instant. At the same time, Senjudan had already used the Mayfly technique and quickly walked through the underground. Found it. Kionju Liming sensed the land above, and then a cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Then he unlocked the floating technique, and his body slowly floated up from the ground. And in front of this house, a little boy he looked over nervously. This little boy was none other than Uchiha Fugaku's son, Uchiha Itachi. Who are you? Are you the intruder? Uchiha Itachi looked at Senjudan nervously. Really smart. Senjudan laughed faintly, and looked at Uchiha Itachi with two cold and ruthless Mangekyo Sharingan eyes. Uchiha Itachi fainted in an instant after seeing Senjudan's eyes. Senjudan directly grabbed it. He caught Uchiha Itachi who was lying on the ground, and then rushed towards the outside of the house. At the same time, Uchiha Fugaku also led his escort to the outside of the yard, but when he came here, Uchiha Fugaku's face appeared. He suddenly started to tremble violently, because in front of him, one of Senjudan's hands was grabbing Uchiha Itachi's shoulder. You finally came. The scarlet kaleidoscope Sharingan of Senjudan stared at Uchiha Fugaku, and then he laughed faintly. What are you going to do? Put him down quickly. Uchiha Fugaku looked cold, and then yelled. Why let it go? Senju Liming looked at Uchiha Fugaku's anxious expression, and a deep cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He is just a child. Don't inflict the hatred between us on a child. Uchiha Fugaku gritted his teeth. Ha ha ha. Fugaku old dog. Doesn't your conscience hurt when you say this? Senjudan suddenly laughed. After Uchiha Fugaku heard Senjudan's words, his face suddenly turned ugly. When you were hunting down my whole family. Why don't you think so? Senju Liming shouted violently, and the two scarlet Mangekyo Sharingan began to rotate violently at this moment. And Senju Liming's body was also covered with a crimson light. Senju Liming grinned, and then he said quietly, I just said it. It will make you experience the same pain. After Thousand Hands Dawn finished speaking, countless densely packed tentacles sprouted from the entire right arm, and these tentacles directly transformed into a monster bone claw emitting dark light. What are you going to do? Uchiha Fugaku shouted, and quickly rushed towards Senjudan. Senjudan looked at Uchiha Fugaku who was speeding towards him, with a stern smile on his face. What do I want to do? Senju Dan directly grabbed Uchiha Itachi's right arm with his right hand, and then pulled hard. Ah! Uchiha Itachi suddenly woke up in great pain, and then looked at his right arm that had been torn off, and screamed in pain. Ah! I am going to kill you. Uchiha Fugaku's eyes quickly opened to the three Magatama Sharingan. And he didn't mean to stop at all. Senju Dan raised his head and laughed. Ha ha ha. Experience the same pain. But this kind of pain is nothing compared to me. After Thousand Hands Dan finished speaking, a pitch-black bone spur formed in his left palm. Don't want. Uchiha Fugaku was distraught. At this time, he finally used his trump card. The three Magatama in his eyes changed again. Then it turned into a Mangekyo Sharingan. Senju Dan looked at Uchiha Fugaku Mangekyo Sharingan, and then sneered, and the black bone spur in the palm of his left hand mercilessly penetrated into Uchiha Itachi's thigh. He did not activate the ability of Black Bone Devouring, because he knew that Uchiha Itachi had the ability to activate the kaleidoscope. Ability. When Uchiha Itachi turns on the kaleidoscope, I will devour him. He is still worth using now. Ah! Uchiha Fugaku looked painfully at Uchiha Itachi lying in a pool of blood. The two scarlet kaleidoscopes were also spinning crazily. Dawn of Thousand Hands. I will kill you today. Uchiha Fugaku shouted. Ha ha ha. If you have the ability, you can kill me. Then come and kill. Senju Dan also burst out laughing. There was unstoppable killing intent in his eyes. For a moment, Senju Dan's unabashedly violent murderous intent suddenly ravaged the entire audience. Uchiha Fugaku was also extremely in the midst of the pain. He activated his kaleidoscope to the extreme. Light blue chakra suddenly appeared on the surface of his body, and bones appeared on the surface of Uchiha Fugaku's body. Susanoo. Senju Dan was not afraid at all, and just stood there quietly, looking at Uchiha Fugaku who had entered the first stage of Susanoo in front of him. Uchiha Fugaku angrily controlled Susanoo, and Susanoo the transformed skeletal palm also hit Kionju Liming hard. Looking at the skeletal palm that seemed to destroy the world, Kionju Li's eyes also revealed a strong murderous intent. Don't think you're the only one who can use Susanoo. Senju Dan laughed coldly. Then, the surface of Senju Dan suddenly erupted with extremely strong scarlet chakra. These chakras quickly gathered together. Red and black bones suddenly appeared inside the chakra. Immediately transformed into a huge arm skeleton. Senju Dan controlled his own Susanoo, and the transformed skeletal palm directly grabbed the palm that was thrown at him. What? Uchiha Fugaku stared at the Senju Dan with both eyes. He had been turning on the kaleidoscope for some time. Moreover, Susanoo also already had some knowledge. After this stimulation, Uchiha Fugaku finally mastered it. However, he did not expect that Senju Dan, who had just opened the Mangekyo Sharingan, could also activate Susanoo in such a short period of time. Susanoo's whole body exuded a strange aura. Especially the dark bones of his opponent, Susanoo, exuded a biting chill. Thanks for watching.